Welcome to this explainer. Look, we all know the shiny, perfectly curated surface of the world's biggest audio platform, right? The sleek interface, the endless playlists. But beneath that totally addictive surface lies an intricate, massive structure that most of us literally never see. Today, we're diving deep into the hidden iceberg of Spotify.
So, what is the true cost of free music? It's a question that seems pretty simple on the surface, but as we navigate through the source material today, the answer becomes increasingly complex and, honestly, a little mysterious. Let's actually start right at the very tip of the iceberg, right where you interact with the platform every single week. The platform's absolute crown jewel of personalization is Discover Weekly. Since launching back in 2015, this feature has felt like pure magic. Every Monday, it delivers 30 algorithmically filtered, hyper-personalized tracks directly to your device. It is the absolute shiny surface of the app. It's an interactive design that seems to know exactly what you want to hear, sometimes even before you do. Now, the technological genius behind that magic actually follows three distinct steps. First, mapping your exact taste profile. Second, relentlessly tracking your listening history. I mean, every single skip, every save. And third, serving up predominantly undiscovered artists. The sheer scale of this operation is staggering. In less than a year after its launch, this specific algorithm connected 40 million listeners to 50 billion new songs. Let that sink in. It transforms you from just a passive listener into a vital data point, constantly helping the machine learn. But there's a darker side to this invisible curation. Take artist Sadie Dupuis, who noted that after she began to publicly critique the platform, her visibility just vanished. She said, "I started to gripe a bit and have not been playlisted since." It reveals a very quiet, uncomfortable truth. The algorithm isn't just a friendly curator, it's a gatekeeper. And artists who question the machine, well, they can suddenly find themselves rendered completely invisible. Part 1. The engine, the freemium illusion. Plunging below the surface, we enter the machine room. 680 million. That is their absolutely staggering number of monthly active users as of early 2026, spanning across 184 global markets. But here's what's absolutely crucial to understand about that massive number. To the platform, these aren't just listeners tuning in for a good time. They are a massive, unprecedented, and highly exploitable data resource. And this perfectly exposes the genius of the freemium funnel. You basically have two tiers. The free tier hooks the masses, right? It represents 54% of all users, offering basic functionality that's subsidized by ads and, of course, massive data collection. But the true masterpiece here is the premium tier. By continuously pushing non-price means to upgrade, they boast a phenomenal 40% conversion rate from free to paid, and that premium tier, it actually generates 90% of the company's total revenue. The free music is, quite literally, just the bait. But there is an immense tension baked right into the very core of this business model. 80% of the platform's current income is immediately paid out to music rights holders. We're talking the major record labels, the publishers. That leaves a razor-thin 20% margin retained by the company. It's a massive structural squeeze. To actually survive and achieve profitability, they have to relentlessly control costs, leverage your data, and find totally new ways to monetize you beyond just playing licensed music.
Part 2. The Deep. The Artist's Rebellion.
Moving deeper into the turbulent waters of platform controversy, ethical criticisms really begin to surface. Musician Joanna Newsom summarized the growing resentment perfectly, saying, "Spotify is the banana of the music industry. It just gives off a fume." For so many creators out there, the platform isn't a savior. It's an unfeeling, utilitarian machine that completely commodifies their life's work, all while paying fractions of a single penny per stream. It is the beginning of a desperate rebellion. And over the years, this resistance has only escalated, with major artists forcefully yanking their catalogs in protest. Jay-Z pulled his music back in 2017, De La Soul protested their streaming deals in 2019, and in 2025, acts like Godspeed You Black Emperor removed their music entirely. Now, these aren't just isolated incidents. They represent a growing resistance against the hidden costs of streaming and what critics are calling playola, the creeping infiltration of pay-for-play mechanics directly into algorithmic streaming. Then, the pressure reached an absolute boiling point. The platform's big pivot to exclusive podcast content directly clashed with public health and artist ethics. When the Joe Rogan Experience faced massive backlash over COVID-19 misinformation, hundreds of medical doctors actually signed open letters demanding action.
And in response to the platform's stance, legendary artists like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell instituted massive boycotts, literally pulling their lifelong catalogs off the service in protest. $4 billion. That is the staggering amount in market value that simply vanished, wiped out almost overnight, triggered directly by that Neil Young controversy. It proved once and for all that the ethical choices of a tech giant can have devastatingly real financial consequences.
But honestly, perhaps the most shocking revelation was still to come. CEO Daniel Ek personally invested €100 million into Helsing.ai, which is an artificial intelligence defense startup focused on military drone technology. When this surfaced, it sparked a whole new wave of furious boycotts from acts like Massive Attack and Shushu. Critics were quick to point out a disturbing reality. Money generated from streams of independent art was directly funding military AI.
Part 3. The Ocean Floor. The Master Plan.
So you might be wondering, how does a company actually survive razor-thin margins and massive market shocks? Well, through calculated evolution. They're no longer just a music player. That was literally just the beginning. Today, they host over 100 million music tracks. They've rolled audiobooks directly into the premium tier, and by the end of 2025, they were hosting over 350,000 video podcasts. They are systematically transforming into an all-encompassing global audio monopoly. Why? Because podcasts and audiobooks just don't carry those same devastating royalty costs as licensed music. And to power this massive ecosystem, they are deploying some incredibly cutting-edge tech. We're talking generative AI playlists that respond to natural language prompts, voice translation that actually allows podcasters to reach global markets in entirely different languages, all while keeping their exact tone. Plus, machine learning that optimizes global content delivery networks just to slash bandwidth costs. This kind of hyper-personalization and aggressive efficiency, it drove their revenue to a massive €17.8 billion in 2025 alone. Which really brings us to their ultimate end game, 275 million premium subscribers. That is the goal of the master plan. Millions of listeners locked securely into an inescapable bundled super platform. Think about it. You come for the music, you stay for the exclusive podcasts, you listen to the audiobooks, and eventually the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself. Which leaves us with one final, kind of haunting thought. As this platform transforms from a simple music player into a dominant global audio monopoly, are we really the consumers anymore? Or are we just the data? Think about that the next time you Discover Weekly updates. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning what's beneath the surface.